Healthcare Week is an opportunity to celebrate and recognize the amazing work that happens every day across SSM Health. I especially want to recognize the amazing heroism our team members have displayed throughout the past year as we face the COVID-19 pandemic. Listening to people across the health ministry, I've heard countless stories of teamwork, grit, compassion, joy, and sorrow. While we have hope this pandemic will soon come to an end, we need to remember the stories. The documentary you are about to watch is a testament to the courageous women and men who have carried on the legacy of our founding sisters and fulfilled our mission in extraordinary circumstances. Let us lift them in our thoughts and prayers as we experience their stories together. As always, thank you for all you do every day at SSM Health for those we serve together. Have a wonderful healthcare week.
In Madison, Wisconsin, Dr. Stephen Taylor bicycles to work from his apartment. As an intensive care physician, he had never experienced the day-in and day-out difficulties the pandemic brought to his team.
When I'm out and about, walking down the street or riding my bike, I wear my mask because I want to make sure that whoever I'm coming close to or in contact with is protected from me. And just even symbolically, I think that we need to make sure that we're kind of as a society willing to protect each other from needing to come to this environment. Good morning. Emotionally, there are times when it's very difficult. I'd say that at the very beginning, when we were preparing for the surge, we were doing some orientation for other physicians and APNs that were going to come in and help staff the ICU. And in those sessions, we had some serious kind of sit-down conversations about the possibilities of having many of our patients die, having an environment where families couldn't be at the bedside. Can you squeeze your right hand? Give me a squeeze. With the onset of COVID, the patients even more so became our kind of personal family members. You know, we all decided that no one would suffer alone. No one would die alone. We made sure the families understood that when things weren't going well, that we were at the bedside with their loved ones. So I'd say more so than usual, we absorbed a lot of that loss. So it's been stressful, it's been hard, but we've got a resilient team, and I think everybody checks on each other. We know that there are interpersonal risks that we kind of keep an eye on to make sure that our coworkers are able to vent when they need to vent, they're able to cry when they need to cry, that all of us get the support that we need to get through this. So I'd say it's been difficult, but in the background you might hear the nurses laughing, and that's a good thing. Good morning. Dr. Taylor here, coming to check with you. How are you feeling this morning?
Perfect. You got it.
I'm going to scan your bracelet.
Tandy is a charge nurse on the 5th floor of SSM Health St. Anthony Hospital in Oklahoma City. During the COVID-19 epidemic, she experienced many more bad days than good.
Our norm is 1 or 2 people coding, people having to go to ICU because they can't maintain their oxygen status anymore. They have to be intubated and put on a ventilator. People dying, comfort care, end of life, holding people's hands while they die, Zoom meetings with their families so they can say their last words to them. It's extremely hard and draining physically, emotionally, in every way. On my way home from work, I call my mama. She always makes me feel better and puts me in a good mood, and just listen to her voice, especially when I haven't seen her in so long.
Hello?
Hi, Mommy.
Hi, sweetheart.
What are you doing?
Oh, just watching the news. What are you doing?
I'm just driving home from work.
My day was good. How about you?
My day was really good. Nobody died, and we didn't have any rapid responses, and
Isn't that wonderful?
it really is. As hard as it is on us, I can't even imagine what the families are going through. These people dropped their family member off at the door to the emergency room, and they walked in, and they never expected that that would be the last time they saw their family alive. And that happens a lot, and it's devastating for everybody.
And you are the hero of the family.
I'm not any kind of a hero, but I appreciate you saying that.
You're my brown-eyed girl, and you're a hero and a princess.
Sometimes I think I shut my emotions off so I don't have to feel things, because then I would feel too much. And I let it build up, and then it all comes out at once, and I'll come home, and Todd's really good about knowing she wants to talk about her day, or I just need to give her a hug and let her cry it out.
She doesn't need to do anything. She takes care of people all day, so I just try to take care of her when she gets home. If she loses a patient, which happens quite a bit, I just hate that she has to go through that. But they all go through it. Every one of those nurses goes through that. I just try to be there for her, whatever she needs.
You're not in it by yourself. When that patient codes, when you have to hold that patient's hand, when you have to go, I need a minute, I've got to step away for a minute, there's somebody there that has your back. And if it wasn't for the coworkers that are absolutely amazing, there's no way that I could do this. And I don't think any of us could without each other.
After the virus gained momentum, the frontline workers in healthcare facilities needed a tremendous surge of personal protective equipment to keep them safe. Providing nurses and doctors with these supplies was the job of those behind the scenes, like Megan and her teammates.
Typically what we would be sending out is gloves, gowns, N95 masks, hand sanitizer, IV fluids. There were times where regions were in short supply of product, and we found a volunteer within our organization that flew down, delivered product, and flew right back. We didn't want them to run out, so we had to do everything we could to get the product there as quickly as possible. It consistently keeps me and my supply chain colleagues awake at night, struggling to sleep, because we want to make sure that we have what is needed. We partnered with a local company to fill 140,000 of these tubes. After you take a patient sample, this vial is then sent to the lab for testing. The frontline workers are the heroes. So if we can get them what they need to be those heroes, then that's what we need to do to support them. We want to make sure that we bring back any of the supplies that have to go get tested for QC. Yay! I'm married, and we have an almost 2-year-old son. His name is Kellen, and he is such a joy to be around. I find myself constantly chasing him because he's always screaming and having so much fun. He wants to go down the slide by himself. He's independent, but I'm not ready to let him go up everything on his own yet. My mom was diagnosed with COVID-19. When they authorized a compassionate care goodbye visit, I booked a flight, had an outdoor visit, goodbye visit with my mother, and she passed away 5 days later. I never believed that people are waiting for you before they pass away, but I believe she was. She never got to meet my son. My mother wanted her ashes spread over La Jolla in San Diego, found a company who spreads ashes via airplane. Now we have a lifeguard tower where I can go back and reflect on where she was laid to rest. If anything with my mom's passing has changed with the work that I do, I didn't think it could possibly be any more important than it already is. But it is elevated to such a higher level when you are personally impacted by somebody due to COVID-19.
At an assisted living facility in Mount Calvary, Wisconsin, the residents receive visits from the animals living on nearby Cristo Rey Ranch. Facilities like this one across the country were hit hard by the virus, and visitors were limited for more than a year. Sister Stephen Blazel brings her furry friends indoors so the residents can give much-needed hugs.
Their life was kind of on hold, in a sense. Initially, they were doing very few activities and no family visits except through a window, and it really perked them up. What do you think, John?
He gained a lot of weight.
He did gain a lot of weight. To have them come in the house and be able to interact, for us it was such a blessing to see how they were so happy for that. You know, it just breaks up the monotony of what they were going through, I think.
Just makes you feel good to see something live and moving again. That they come up to you and see you, which is more than what a lot of people could do, you know. It's very, very uplifting at this time when we couldn't have company. We just want to take them and hug them. Yeah, they do a lot for people. You wouldn't think that, and I never thought that years ago, but as you get older, you really do feel that. It's really uplifting.
So come kiss Rosie. Oh my God. The smiles on these residents was just amazing when they would see these animals looking in at them. We got a couple letters, just what it meant. That was the first time their dad was smiling since they were locked in. They would call their family and tell them about this, and they were really excited about it. So it's just really been a rewarding experience for all the people who helped me. You know, they're all like, I'll do it again. You know, I have a long list of people willing to come and help.
Talk to them. You're done. It brings joy to them and something to laugh about, and they have something to talk about.
Have good breath?
No. It's just such a bonding with something alive, and it's good. It's really good.
Cabrina suffers from post-COVID-19 syndrome, also known as a long hauler. She still requires oxygen months after she contracted the virus.
COVID is beyond real, yeah. I was at work and I just had this uncontrollable cough that would not stop, no matter what I tried or no matter what I did. And it was like by that second day, I didn't need to be tested. I knew that something was going on. Lungs were a mess. They immediately put me on oxygen when I went into the emergency room, and I have been on it ever since.
I do remember those days.
My mom's been there since day one. She helped me with everything. She makes my favorite meals still. So for her to be there is no surprise for me. The funniest thing is she dropped me off at the ER, and at that time, of course, no one could come into the emergency room. I called her and said, you know what, I think they're gonna keep me. My mom still sat in the parking lot for at least 2 hours because she would not leave that parking lot until she was absolutely sure I was in a room and that I was safe and that she could head home. Well, my mom's always been there. They sent a physical therapist to my mom's house, and we started doing some basic exercises, just walking up and down the hallways to see what my oxygen levels would drop to or how fatigued I would get. So after like a couple of doctor's visits with my pulmonologist, he felt like pulmonary rehab was the next best step to continue moving me towards more independence and building up my endurance more.
When Cabrina first came to us, she was very scared and depressed. She'd been sick for so long. The psychological effects were pretty evident. She was young and she wanted to, still live a long, full life, and she was afraid that these symptoms would never completely go away.
Oh my gosh, that team is fantastic. I love them all. They were phenomenal. They made me feel very supported. They made me feel encouraged.
I was inspired by her story because I knew how she was so frustrated from the start, that she was not able to do anything. She was terrified to do anything out in public, to leave her house, and to come here and work as hard as she did and recover to the point where she feels like she has her life back.
I have a school directly across the street from me, and I put on my oxygen tank and I will go out there. Sometimes I'll listen to music on my phone or just look around, and I will take those laps around that schoolyard and just work on continuing to build up my endurance. So every lap around for me is a victory, because there was a time I couldn't walk the length of my driveway. So if I can get on that schoolyard, and the worst of it is to carry about a 5-pound tank of oxygen on my back while I'm doing it, I'm doing it.
Marland checked into the hospital in Oklahoma City when he started experiencing symptoms of COVID-19.
My throat was hurting. I was kind of having shortness of breath. By the time I came in, they just brought me right up here to the COVID unit, had me on oxygen within 30 minutes of me getting here. Personally, I had no pain. I just couldn't breathe. And I think that's even more scary than having any pain at all. I'm slightly recovering, slowly. They say it may be a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks before I can get back on my feet. And even then, I can't move more than sitting up, getting back in bed, and you're just worn out like you ran a marathon. And what's so bad is there's such short breaths. You can't take a long breath. It's just, and that's nothing worse than that, because you want to go, and you can't do it. You just can't do it. And it's just, to me, that's miserable. I've never had that feeling in my life. And I've never been afraid of too much. Boy, this has terrorized my head, because it plays with your mind, because that's one of the main things you have, is you're just laying here and there's nothing to do but you and time. These people come in here every day, breathe it and work around it, touch it and everything, and yet they don't even think twice. You pray that they don't catch anything. Basic instinct of humans is to just take care of humans. We will take care of each other despite anything and everything that happens in this world. We always come together. And it may not always be the best, but one thing that makes us the human race is that we come together, we strive to help each other and to make each other better off than we were. And because of that, that's why our world has grown exponentially as it has. Like the other night, I took a little sponge bath here. The little girl came up and said, "You want me to do your back shoulders?" I was like, "Would you mind?" She said, "No." And just that little bit. Oh, it's just like your mom coming up, rubbing your back. It just means a lot. To me, it means a lot to have that human contact. It's like a little electrical spark that goes in your body that helps build you to get by another day.
He's been great. So he's totally calmed down. We'll put his mask on him and he will try to totally relax his body and take really deep breaths and slow down on his own. They don't all do that. A lot of times they're stressed and they panic and they start breathing harder and harder, but he's done really well.
After a COVID-19 patient leaves a room, LaRonda's job is to sanitize everything from top to bottom so a new patient can be admitted. This process takes up to 2 hours to complete.
This person passed on, and sometimes it can emotionally get you to where I broke down and cried, or I had to leave the room or leave the floor for a minute and get myself together. No more pain. Who wants to suffer? Job description is to clean and sanitize. So I signed my name on the dotted line to do it, and I feel like that's important to me to achieve my job to the best of my abilities. And then, to where people can actually lay in a clean room and don't feel like they have to take something home that they didn't bring in. I'm more comfortable on the floor than I am out there. I feel scared when I'm out there because I guess because I'm not in the PPE. When I go out there to have lunch or clock out or whatever, you know, a little anxiety start coming because I'm not properly to the maximum like I am in here, you know. Every day is a good day for me. I'm a positive person, so I keep positive vibes all the time. I'm not a pessimistic person. It's hard to steal my joy. My prayer list has grown, you know. I pray for them every morning when I get in my car. I'll say a prayer for St. Anthony's every morning for the nurses, the patients. I think you have to have a great sense of work ethic and be mindful that this is serious, you know. And I'm just speaking for me. If I can't give 110, I won't come to work. I will not compromise nobody's safety or their sanitation. I'm not gonna walk out of here until I know everything I feel like has been touched. It's a 7-step process that we have to do. And so with those 7 steps, it's not something you could just whiz by, because those 7 steps are put in place to make sure that everything is sanitized. We're dealing with a dangerous, dangerous killing virus that don't have no discretion where it lay. This is why it's important to me, and I do the job the way I do it, is because I don't want nobody to get this from my selfishness. So that's why it's important to me to help control this, because this is real. Okay. See you later, Miss Sheila. Bye-bye. I'm gonna grab your trash.
Dr. Alexander Garza served as President Barack Obama's Assistant Secretary for Health Affairs and Chief Medical Officer in the U.S. Department of Homeland Security.
Good afternoon, and thank you everybody for tuning in for today's briefing.
When the pandemic hit, Dr. Garza was named Incident Commander for the St. Louis, Missouri Metropolitan Pandemic Task Force.
It's been a bit of an adventure getting the right picture in people's minds about what this pandemic is about.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good. How's things going?
Not too shabby.
Yeah. How's the patient load doing?
What are we at? 17 patients at the moment.
Getting the message out, offering advice, but also not being afraid to criticize as well when it was needed. Making sure that it was a truthful narrative, dispelling rumors and myths about the pandemic. But as long as we stuck with what the truth was and with what the evidence said, then we knew we would be on the right side of this.
We appreciate you talking and representing us because we went through a lot, so it's nice to be recognized.
As vaccines started rolling out, it became entered into a new phase where I think people became much more hopeful. And there you go.
It's such a relief to finally get this shot.
Isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, how are you?
Oh, I'm obviously one of your groupies because I follow you.
I think I would just want everybody to understand, especially, people that, would say things like, well, this is just like the flu, or, wearing a mask isn't important. If they could spend one day in the lives of some of these workers, I think they would have a change of mind, or at least I hope they would. They took on this huge burden, a worldwide pandemic, and a lot of it fell squarely on their shoulders. So I would just want people to recognize a lot of the heroic work.
That's the most I've seen him open his eyes the last 2 days, so.
Good. Good.
He knows you're here.
I hope so.
I mean, we know they can hear us. It's just they don't know who we are. They don't know what's going on around us. So if we can make something somewhat familiar to them, it's great. And having family members is probably one of the best things for these patients.
Since Kevin is no longer contagious, Ava is allowed to visit her husband's bedside.
He's had some really, really good nurses. I mean, they're in here constantly doing stuff with them, adjusting what they're doing every time his numbers aren't where they need to be. And they seem to really care. And the doctors, it's remarkable what they can do. I'm glad we're here. Let me just say that. When they decided to bring him here, it felt totally different. It felt hopeful, like there was hope. He's a good man, and we don't want to lose him. And his grandkids don't want to lose him. They love their grandpa.
People can say I'm just playing with numbers and going back and forth on drips and titrating and suctioning and turning the patient to make sure they don't get wounds, but it's more than that. I'm trying to keep someone alive as best I can. And when you lose them after being with them for a week, maybe a month, we had someone that we took care of for 6 months and they passed away. And it's just heart-wrenching. I can honestly say I have had PTSD episodes, I've had panic attacks, I've had to seek help for it because of the trauma that we on the front lines have gone through. It's not only terrifying for these family members and the patients themselves, but for the nurses as well. And I know I'm not the only one out there. I've talked to multiple respiratory therapists. I've talked to doctors. I've talked to about every single one of us on the front lines, whether it's our cleaning staff. We all have the same concerns because our families, what if we get it? There were times, I wondered if I was gonna see my son again. And that was the scariest, not knowing.
We can look at statistics and trends all day, but where it really hits home is when you go to the ICUs. And you talk with the people that work there. You see what they have to deal with. Because now you're not just talking about a political issue or a scientific issue. Now it's real. And you can't be afraid when you're delivering that message that it's going to offend somebody. Because you're in some ways, you're the voice for those people. And I never wanted to forget that.
Like you're trying to
I was worried that Gloria was going to die. So I brought the iPad into the room, and Gloria started talking to her family and saying how scared she was. Then her son came on, and just seeing his emotion, it was gut-wrenching for me to watch. But I also felt privileged to hold the iPad for them so they could have that communication with each other. That's going to stay with me for the rest of my life. There was a lot of patients that went to the ICU and we never got to see them again.
For the reunion with her caregivers, Gloria wanted to walk in on her own.
It's so great to see everyone. Thank you. I remember going to the hospital. I remember going up to that one room, and that's it. And I guess maybe that's a good thing, right? Yeah, I only remember the good times with you guys.
The most wonderful thing was having those iPads, you guys, so that you can at least see someone's face is so touching, and it means the world. It literally means the world. We thought we were going to lose her.
Thank God I didn't know that.
Thankfully, someone's very stubborn.
You guys were so good to me. I mean, what you had to go through cleaning me up, Yeah. I kept telling him, I said, oh, I feel so bad. He said, don't worry, we do this all the time. I'm thinking, what a job.
We keep coming back.
I know, right? Yeah. You got a good heart. Good heart. Well, thank you so much.
You betcha. You take care, okay?
Oh, yeah, I will. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for everything you did for me. I appreciate it so much.
And watching you say goodbye to everybody, it just means so much to me to see you.
Oh, thank you.
How you're doing now.
Thank you.
You were a good turning point for us.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad.
You gave me as much as I gave you, that's
Yes,
for sure.
yes. I think about you so much. Anybody around when I said, oh, thank God I had my eyebrows waxed? I remember that.
For the initial part of my illness, I stayed at home. I felt that I was just tired, fatigued, and never considered COVID as a diagnosis.
After almost a year, Dr. Qureshi is also still trying to recover from the devastating effects of the virus. As an emergency pediatric physician at SSM Health Cardinal Glennon Children's Hospital, he continues his rehab so he can return to the work he loves.
I was expecting that maybe they'll keep me for a 24-hour hydration reasons, but nothing more than that. When I started waking up, I wasn't sure what was happening to me. Then the nurses who were taking care of me, one of them I recall, he was so excited to see me open my eyes. He said, "You were on ECMO for 2 weeks, prolonged coma." I said, "What?" Mentally. And you pretty much know the chances of recovery from that was very slim. And at that point, I realized how sick I had been. So my mortality was 95, 98%. And then they called my children and my family. They came on FaceTime, and I could acknowledge the smile on their face. And the first thing they said, "Dad, thank God, you're looking good. You'll recover. Don't worry."
We were doing 10, 12 miles a day before he got sick, and watch him not be able to do that anymore. To hear him after an hour of physical therapy and just hear him gassed. Absolutely exhausted. I've never heard him like that, ever. And it's hard for us as a family to really fathom it because, you don't recognize your loved ones to ever be helpless. He was a hero to all of us. He still is.
Look at you, you're back, baby. Battle scars and everything.
To see your heroes not be able to live to their expectations, right? It's him who wants to go back to work. He craves it. It's who he is. It's who he wants to be. He's never wanted to retire. And I'm sitting here telling him, Dad, you sure? And it's a tough conversation for me to have because I know he's had so much planned.
Very good. Let's let you come over. We'll have a seated rest break.
When I came home, in less than 48 hours, my Glennon family, they were at my doorstep. And I have never experienced anything like this. I always treasured their work group, but they became a part of my family. And the energy they radiated to me, the support they gave me, I can assure you, that's one of the very important pillars of my recovery phase.
To know that there have been so many people the world over praying for him. You will never understand how grateful our family is to have him back, and we can't wait for him to have you guys back at work with him.
We love you.
I always was made to feel that I'm wanted, that they want me back again. They were in touch with my family, they would talk to them, sending cards. There was one of the comments which somebody wrote that if God were to ever get overwhelmed with prayers, now is the time. No money can buy that love and affection, period. It's not a work family. Every single person has been involved in my care, somehow or the other. I'll never be able to thank them for that. I'll never be able to thank them for that.
The world has turned to silence, retreating to our homes, but somewhere in the quiet, we know the danger roams. concentrate.